Welcome to yet another episode of Shape Your Story. Lisa, how's it going?
It's great. I can't wait to see what we're going to look at today.
So we are in San Jose, California. We're actually in Logitech's headquarters in North America. And we've been walking around, checking out all the different spaces. You know, we just, obviously in the last episode, you guys saw all the different desktop tools. But I want to talk about meeting spaces, not something that's personal to you at your desk, but you walk into a room, what do you find? And I'll be honest, like most places when people do whiteboard and they want to take it with them, the first thing they do is they pull out their phone, they take a picture of it, that picture is then lost in a camera roll forever. Right. Very rarely do you find, anything, even what you originally took in terms of a picture. But one problem with capturing a picture is you can't edit the image anymore. You're basically stuck with that image. So we'll talk today about two different things. We'll talk about analog whiteboards as well as digital whiteboards. But what have you been doing in meeting rooms as an example?
Well, you use whatever you find in the room, and usually it's a whiteboard that has the ghost of the last meeting still stuck on it because people weren't able to erase it enough, or somebody used a Sharpie and made a permanent mark, or you can have a flip chart or something like that. And after the meeting is over, pretty much all that stuff is lost. Even if people took pictures, like you said, it's really hard to find them again. And really what you did in the meeting is kind of goes away after the meeting is over.
Okay, so we're going to walk you through some options that we have from Logitech to be able to capture what you're drawing on a whiteboard, either analog or digital. So let's get started. So this is one of our training rooms in San Jose. Now, it's set up as a traditional classroom, but you could see many people even in corporate America using this to train employees. So pretty straightforward situation. We've got a rally bar, dual screens, and we have a whiteboard. Now, Lisa, you wanted to show me something about frameworks.
That's right, because this is something that really helps when you draw it out with people in the room. So imagine you have...
Oh, hang on. Wait. You want the whiteboard? You know what? Let's get the whiteboard on the screen.
How do we do that?
Oh, so there's the magic of Scribe. It's right up there.
Okay.
Click the purple button.
The purple button.
And now we should see this screen turning white.
Oh, wow.
So start drawing.
Okay,
Talk
cool.
about frameworks.
Okay,
let's see how it does
about frameworks. So imagine you have something that has three parts to it. They may be interdependent. So you might have something where you've got these three different circles, 1, 2, 3, and you talk about how they relate to each other. Or you might have another kind of a program or a project that's more like a wedding cake, where you have to have the bottom part has to happen first, and then the next level, and then the next level, and you really can't work on level 3 until you've worked on levels 1 and 2. So those are two different frameworks to be able to explain. Oh, look, there it is on the whiteboard. That's amazing.
Now, I don't know if you caught this because you weren't watching the whiteboard. So one of the cool things about Scribe is that we can brighten the colors. We can make your hands translucent or completely disappear.
Oh, wow.
Because there's onboard AI in the camera. But for the end user, like you didn't know even how to do this.
This is great.
You just click the button to turn it on to see whiteboard, and another click, and it goes off and back into your meeting.
Wow, that's crazy.
So
love it.
I want to keep talking about frameworks, but let's do this now, not on an analog whiteboard. We're going to do it on a digital whiteboard. All right, so we just showed you how to capture an analog whiteboard with the Logitech Scribe camera. But one of these whiteboards, these digital whiteboards, are super common today. So this is our Rallyboard 65. It's a digital whiteboard and obviously a video conferencing system. We're actually in a Zoom call right now, and I clicked on Zoom Whiteboard so we can finish up our framework discussion. But before we get into that, I want to show everyone how this actually flips, because there's a lot of reasons to flip it, and I'll talk about it in a second. But so all you have to do to actually flip this board to the other side is you pull down and you release, and now the entire board flips over. Now, you're probably wondering, in fact, you guys are probably wondering, what is the point of flipping this board? So let me bring it back down on this side since I don't want to go to the other side. So most conference boards like this have the camera on top. So the camera top is fine as long as you're sitting elevated. So if you're sitting at a highboy table, it makes sense. You have really perfect, eyesight. But if you're sitting at a lower table, now the camera is coming down at you like a CCTV type camera. So what happens with this is when we flip it over, the camera's at the bottom. Everything completely changes the orientation, and now you can have a great meeting or even whiteboarding, right? Basically in the camera in the proper orientation.
Right, so you can use this in different rooms in different settings, and the camera will always be in the right place.
Bingo. So with that, let's talk about frameworks, because that's really what we're here to talk about.
We're gonna finish that up. So we talked about a project or a product that might have 3 different pieces that are interdependent like this. We also talked about how you might imagine it differently if it is a kind of a three-phased situation where you have to do phase 1 before you can do phase 2 and phase 3. So that's more sequential. You might have another situation where the 3 pieces are more like pillars on a Roman temple, that they're all holding up the roof, the results of the roof, but they're not dependent on each other. So you could decide, well, I'm going to focus on number 2 this week. We're going to work on that, and then we'll focus on the other. So without the thing falling apart. So it's completely different than these that are kind of dependent on each other. Then you might have a situation where this is kind of like a road going off into the distance. And then you might have milestones 1, 2, 3. And this implies that there's a passage of time that gets you from 1. So this is sequential too, but these steps don't depend on each other. But over time, you're going to end up going through these different steps. So you've got 4 different frameworks here that all describe something that has 3 pieces, but the 3 pieces work differently in different ones. And so it helps to work with your team to decide how is your project or product constructed, how do the different elements relate to each other.
You know, the first thing I think of is putting a bunch of color into everything. And I know you're screaming. Internally, I know you're screaming at me. But I think that would add, I mean, you don't have to add a lot of color, but just, for accents and things like that.
I imagine if I click on this little black thing, I can pick a different color. I can pick red. Well, actually, that's a really good idea because I could decide that I want, like this circle could be red.
Sure.
Now I'm going to go crazy. Oh, gee, this circle could be
See,
green.
this is what happens when you start introducing color. You go kind of crazy with color.
This circle could be yellow. Oh, no. But the idea being that, this would have, if I knew how to blend these colors, and I know there's a way, you'd have orange here, you'd have kind of a lime green here. But the idea being that when you only have these 2, what does that get you? When you only have these 2, what does that get you? You really
like the intersection, right?
Yeah, you really need all 3, which is this wonderful. Let's see, I want purple. This wonderful purple thing in the middle, that's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
That's what we want, to have all 3 elements working together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So there you have it, guys. You have it. I mean, there's an analog way to do this. Yes, you could actually take a video camera and point at the whiteboard. That doesn't usually deliver the best results, but to each his own, his or her own. But then you can also do a digital whiteboard. And there's lots of different ways you can do this. You can use Rally Board. We also work with a number of manufacturers that takes any Rally bar, be able to attach it to any interactive whiteboard, and then you can do the same thing with that as well. But obviously, there's a nicety to having everything in one board to be able to do it.
But what you showed me before that we don't really talk about is I'm right here in front of you, and you can imagine you're sitting in a room with me in person. But because this is a Zoom whiteboard, anybody who's joining from Zoom is seeing this on their screen.
Absolutely.
So when you're having a meeting with people who are both present and remote, you've got they're all having the same experience, which I think is really great.
And what you're going to see is in some of the B-roll that we used in this video, we're actually taking that recording from Zoom to show you what's looking, so you will get that far-end experience as well.
Awesome.
And there you have it, folks. That's another episode of Shape Your Story. We covered a lot in this one, right?
I know. I'm so excited to see all the great tech.
Yeah. So obviously analog whiteboards, shareable online with the Logitech Scribe with just a click of a button. And it's one of those things, until you use it, it's just hard to kind of understand what it all can do, especially since your hands can become translucent or disappear completely.
Right. So when you call it an analog whiteboard, it's really almost...
It's a whiteboard.
It's a whiteboard. But it's magical the way it does all those things. It's really better than a real analog whiteboard.
And even though we talked about reach and some of the other products, of course, you can use a third-party camera. You could use a Logitech reach in a meeting room as well. Basically bring it as a secondary camera. You can still do it. But there's a nicety to having the automation, having your hands be translucent or disappear completely. And the one cool little trick that the AI camera does on Scribe is automatically makes your blues bluer, your greens greener, and it doesn't fix my garbage drawings, unfortunately. But maybe another product will come out at some point that can do that. And then last but not least, the digital aspect of it.
Right.
There's so many digital whiteboards, there's interactive whiteboards that we can integrate with. And then all you do, like you saw it, you go to Zoom Whiteboard or Microsoft Whiteboard, you click the whiteboard button and it just works magically.
It's amazing.
So many different products to talk about, but glad you were able to come and check out a couple of them.
It was fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want them all.
Now, here's the homework for you guys. If you have questions, definitely ask us in the comments below, and we'll try to answer them as soon as we can. And with that, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
This has been another great episode of Shape Your Story. See you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.